All right, it's Tuesday, March 18th. This is an end of the day SPY recap, and today on the daily chart, we end up with a 2 down red day. Essentially, we held below the midpoint of the prior day, moved down a little bit, but didn't follow through, at least for today, to reach these targets down here. So we'll see in compound fashion as the week goes on, do we continue down there? As long as we stay below this purple line, which is the open of the week, we're biased to the downside. So with the red bar, you kind of expect a little lower tomorrow. And if we kind of open up somewhere, near below or near the midpoint of this day and start lower, the continuation certainly has targets down to here until proven otherwise. On the weekly chart, we're looking to see if we get the weekly failure, which is kind of taking out the high of the previous week, immediately starting down, getting through the halfway point of this bar. Even though that looks like a big buying tail, if you really look at it, these particular 2 days, there was no strong buying that came in. This day closed lower. This was just a little bit off the open, so it wasn't like a big thrust up here. So I don't really see this as much, major support. Normally the midpoint of these bars are potential support, but given the look at the daily bars, I don't think so. So in other words, if we can get through the midpoint of this bar, I think we could be heading down for an outside week to the downside down there. In terms of structure, pretty clear. Between the blue lines was the pre-market range, opened up strongly down. I think you could have, I wasn't here in the morning, but if you were watching it earlier, let me look at the 5-minute chart. I bet you that was a 5-minute. Yeah, a pretty nice 5-minute breakout here to sell aggressively if you wanted to. If you didn't and you sold on the 15-minute break, you had one push, pause, second push. So nice morning gains in here. I came back in the afternoon and kind of saw this big red bar and assumed we would take out those lows. I knew it was very volatile. I was watching, choppy price action. I bought some puts here. I scaled out to set up an orders trade, and it ended up just a very, minor, almost a break-even, small gain trade in here once it didn't really follow through, or, just kind of settled in here. But it settled with a red bar, so you kind of expect to test lower. We'll see if that happens. The interesting thing is the midpoint of this bar is about the open of the week. So if we gap up, we can certainly, this could be, anytime I see a failure to broaden on the daily chart, in other words, this downward action should hit this target. If we come down and either in one bar or maybe a couple of bars and then immediately start up, I think there's a high probability we reach the opposite target. So keep that in mind should things start up. But for now, it's just a resumption of the downtrend overall, with more time to go in the month. The month is getting closer to the end. We're closing, at the moment, staying strongly red, so that could lead to follow through into next month type of thing. We were looking for a weekly reversal to unfold. We had one day of it, but it kind of reached its target yesterday, and then immediately selling came in. But again, if we fail to hit this target and start up, that to me is a good buy by the end of the week, and maybe we get a strong, we hold the midpoint of this weekly bar and we go up. So let's just see what these daily bars do in the next day or two. That's going to be interesting in terms of the big picture, either continuing down or maybe failing to head lower and having a little bit of a pullback to the upside, which can certainly happen on this downtrend. Again, I could see it up here. So maybe we do 1, 2, 3 pullback before a weekly reversal. But anyway, today was pretty straightforward. Good morning trade down here. If you did an afternoon trade, which was to me the only thing to consider, I guess it could have been a small loss as it just settled in here, but it never really, took out liquidity for a moment here and just settled. So there was nothing that really came back to the midpoint of that first bar, but it certainly didn't follow through to new lows. But it did make 2 pushes down. That's why that third push, I guess, was a little tricky. But the bias is still at the downside. We will see what happens tomorrow for the rest of the week.